these out.
I guess we're at 10:30 here. We've got on the agenda a discussion regarding the Sear Iron Mountain Road closure that's been kind of a hot topic, and hopefully we have some maybe new information. And
We do have some new information. Kathy? If anybody hasn't got one of these slips of paper, what they are is just statement of usage in the case that we might need it later on. So if you fill it out, if you don't mind, and if you can do it today, it'd be good, and if not, get it to me later. But first of all, I just wanted to say that Ryan Weiss was planning on being here from Helena, and he called me about 6 o'clock this morning and said he started out and turned back. The roads are so bad, so. And also the 1 o'clock guy coming from Helena also, right? Canceled, so legitimate. But he's sorry he's not here, and he's going to be helping us with the process. He's already got some information and made some contacts for us.
What's his position?
I have that in my speech, so I'll get down to it. I actually have some information from him too, talking more about it if you want to look at it.
Who is he?
What?
Who is the guy?
He is the public access specialist from DNRC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little more about him. So, anyway, thank you, County Commissioners, for having our third meeting together on this issue. And we appreciate any help, of course, that the county can give us, as you know, but you know that there's kind of restrictions too. And is somebody here from the Forest Service? Okay, either Nate or Carol. Nate or Carol was going to try to be here. We do know it's a Forest Service road. And the purpose of today's meeting is to form a committee to get this moving and keep it moving instead of me hitting a roadblock and stopping. So we're going today, we'll be thinking if you want to be on the committee. I have a couple of people that already voiced interest in being on the committee that aren't here that will help. So I think that he'll be here in a little while. And then also to fill out the forms that we can use in our committee as far as past usage of the road, and if anybody has it, what capacity they used it in. If you could fill out the information. We may use this later on if we end up going to court or something, but or else try to document any thing that's going on. Hi, Tim. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of history and overview, and I know that most of you know this, so you can stop me if I'm talking too much, and if you've already known it. But basically, I took it from the 2 articles from the paper that talked about the previous meetings. Okay, the Sear Iron Mountain Road, everybody knows that, is the Forest Service 344 road. Runs from Trout Creek to Fish Creek, all the way, and is designated Forest Service Road from Trout Creek to Quartz, or to the intersection there. And then after that, it's a county road, right? That's what it says on the map. It's not a county road? Who said that?
I'll speak later.
Okay. We all know it was built during gold rush days and back in the 1860s, 70s, and used as a primary route. Not the Yellowstone Trail, that was on Tom tells me that's on the other side of the creek, or the river. And then it was upgraded by the 3 Cs in the early 1930s, and that's when the bridge was built. That's down up above the mill there, and it's a good solid bridge. We know that. So I'll talk about that a little bit too. And we all know that a lot of us use that road as a shortcut between Trout Creek, the mill, and Quartz, the area, the interchange there. Okay. And then after that, and it was actually kept up. It was graded by, from what I can understand, both the county and possibly the mill. So it was kept up at that time. After that, people could use it at their own risk, and it was passable. It wasn't real good, but you could get over it with a 4-wheeler and pickups. And then about 5 years ago, the Wheatons purchased the property in the Lower Cougar Gulch area and blocked from Stimson Lumber Company and blocked off the road. And we've made efforts to try to get them to open it up. People have talked to them, including Lori, and didn't get very far with that. Okay, so this is the third time we have met with the county commissioners regarding the matter. The first meeting was held September 25th, 2013, so that's how long it's been. The district ranger at that time, who was Tanya Brumet, said that the Forest Service did have a Schedule A maintenance agreement for the road, meaning that the Forest Service worked with the county to maintain the road, but indicated that they did not have official documentation regarding an easement through the area. And I've actually found something that maybe there is an easement through the area, I'm not sure, and I don't know if you did either, Tim, you looked into it. Okay, at that time, Lori talked about the research, Lori Johnson, that she had done and made some contacts with attorneys around the state, right, Lori? Mm-hmm. And told that we could possibly get it open looking at prescriptive use. Thanks, Tim. But that would mean we'd have to take it to court, and that would cost a lot of money. But that's a possibility too. The commissioners agreed to consult with the county attorney, which they did, and that was Marcia. The second meeting was on May 19th, 2016, and at that time we presented a petition with, Teresa, what was it, over 150 signatures? Mm-hmm. Teresa was instrumental in doing that. And I have the original here too, so. Requesting that action be taken on the matter and that the barriers be removed, restricted the public use. And Roger Joseph at that time talked about driving county trucks over it. And I think there's others also. I think Wally Zimmer may have to. Marcia said that she would look into the issue, and like I said, she did, and she had an intern briefly that was going to also look into the issue, and I talked with them, and then things changed, so we all know what happened there, right? Okay, there's a couple of, and then after that I talked with several people about the situation, including Lori, Marcia, and I talked to Ellen, who couldn't be here today either, Tim Reed, Carol Johnson, and then Nate at the Forest Service. And they all agree that this road should be restored to public use, but we don't know the best way to do it. And we also don't know how we can do it without spending a lot of money. There's a couple of new developments in the area. Ryan Weiss, who you'd asked about, is the public access specialist. He was hired about a year ago in December by DNRC. And his job is to go around the state and help people. He's not an attorney, but to help organize people to try to work out a solution or find people that can help them. And he's made several contacts in the meantime. I talked to him this morning. And with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, with the Forest Service, who also has a new division. And I believe they're out of Missoula, the regional office. And it's about a year old too. And they are trying to move some of these issues forward. So there's a little bit of hope, because when we talked about the Forest Service before, I mean, anything with the federal government moves really slow, and I know Carol had talked about it, and Carol was interested, so. Any other questions about Ryan? Glenn, did I cover that enough? Okay, and I have more about his position if you need it. He has agreed to come over once we form a committee and meet with the committee, and I've got dates if he's available, so we can probably set up a date today for the next meeting. The other thing that happened was during the Sunrise Fire, that road was used as both a fire boundary, I believe, and a access for the firefighting personnel. And they begrudgingly opened the gate at that time for the Forest Service, so they could go through there. The Forest Service upgraded, well, in fact, Kelly graded the road, right? Yeah. For the Forest Service, and they retreaded the bridge down below, so the bridge is in really good condition. They actually took heavy equipment over that bridge, so we know the bridge is good. They wouldn't have done it otherwise. In fact, they wouldn't do it until they retreaded it. So, once again, public funds were used. And back in the 1930s, the 3Cs used public funds. So there's pretty much no doubt that it's a public highway. Does everybody understand what a public highway means? It's an old term. Okay. So So some of our options that we looked at were finding proof of an existing easement. I did find in the blue book up in the clerk and recorder's office, which is called the Road Right-of-Way Status Tabular Record, which they used up until the 70s, maybe 80s. It's a real old book. Everything's kind of just typed in there. But it said that Anaconda Company had a right-of-way in that area, and it looked like, from Stacy and I looking at the map, that was right where the Cougar Creek Road meets the Sear Iron Mountain Road. And this needs to be researched further. And apparently, I don't know, Tim? You've got this stuff up here, so do you know anything about what I'm talking about, the easement that I'm talking about? Do you know about the blue book up there? Okay, I'll show it to you afterwards.
You're not referring to the road. Those are where the easements are recorded.
I'm referring to the book that's called Road Right-of-Way Status Tabular Record. It's an old blue book that's about this big, up in the clerk and recorder's office.
But that's not giving you the deed references for the recorded.
I don't know. I've got all this information I wrote down. So you can look at it and you can tell me, because I don't know.
I have looked at it. I mean, it's not recorded easements. That's the germane point here is there an easement recorded for the
So that book's not a record?
it's a record that was maintained and stuff, but it doesn't go to the point of establishing that these are the easements that go with those.
Okay.
There's a lot of agreements. There's agreements all over the county of how roads are maintained and what the approach were, but unless you find a documented easement that was granted.
Okay, and I will be contacting, what's her name?
Michelle, and that's what I
Michelle.
was saying to you on the phone the other day,
Yeah.
is that Michelle researches titles and the deeds, and she would be able to tell you if that, that's her business to show whether that was recorded on the deed.
There's no recorded easement across that property. That's the way it's been titled.
So
Yeah.
there's that answer from Tim. So Michelle probably researched it for the new owners, but I'm not saying.
Yeah, no, it's just an avenue, it's something to look at, the committee will look at.
Diane, before I retired, this was part of my job in road management.
Mhm.
And this whole issue began about that same time, so I had the task of researching some of the Forest Service documents of that road, and that's what I found in there. There was no recorded easement or any Forest Service information that they were trying to acquire an easement through there. I think most of it was done just by agreements through the timber companies back in those days.
And maybe that's probably what
Forest
this
Service
is.
had easement coming on Cedar Iron Mountain back to the mill, but not the other direction. Coming out of Cougar Gulch, across the piece in red there.
And
Where
that's-
Tim said,
okay, they
had
have-
it marked no easement. But coming back to the mill, there was right of way coming through, Forest Service has right of way coming through, as Tim has it marked there. That's what I found in Forest Service information.
So how far does that Forest Service easement go up? Does it go up to the clay bank?
Above the top of the hill there.
It goes into private
There's a piece
property
of
here, it
concrete
goes
ground.
into the property 287 feet.
Well, that Forest Service easement that you got marked there, where does it end?
Right there, 287 feet from the property line. It's a
So-
described easement.
So the new person that bought that piece up there, that includes the old dump area that the mill had, some of that road goes across his property without an easement too, right? Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
5 pieces of property
Yeah.
that don't have any easement.
but he's willing to work with us on that. He is one person to work with us.
No. You told me no, thank you. Unless you want to pick up garbage on the road. I mean, that's,
Well, he wants to go through our old dump, so I have some, the old mine shaft, so We have a relationship. Okay, another option is prescriptive use, and I know Lori did some research on that when this originally all came up, right, Lori?
Yeah, well, yeah, I talked to Bernard Lee, he used to be a Forest Service employee, and now, that's kind of what he does for public land access program, does research for that, and I just talked a little bit with him.
And I talked with him too, and he also said that if we could find proof it was a county road, it would be easier because of the law, the way the law is written, which we all know that. But so what prescriptive use is defined as when a road is found to have been used by others in a manner that amounted to open, notorious, continuous, hostile, exclusive, and adverse use for a prescriptive period, which is presently 5 years. That a prescriptive easement exists on the road, and those who have used the road in the aforementioned manner may travel the road without landowner permission. This is an approach that can be taken and has to go to court, most likely, in order to force somebody, unless they'll work with you, and that has happened across the state. There has been some instances where they've been able to go in and negotiate with the property owners. I don't think that's going to happen in this case.
Yeah, and on that issue, if, knowing your family especially, but others too, if they use that road as a main traveled way to get back and forth to courts, it'll hold, or to Mozo, it'll hold a lot more weight. Is the general public just using the road? Prescriptive use, like Forest Service in the state cannot develop prescriptive use even by necessarily others using it, from the understanding that I've gotten. But if there's private land on the other end and it was used to get in and out of that private land, and in the case your family coming from the Lozo area, that was the means of getting back and forth, that will hold a lot more weight on the prescriptive use. But when you take it to court, you never know. It's up to the judge to decide, and if he decides it's important enough, or that use was important enough, it could carry on. But it's a tough one that you never know how it's going to turn out. But the fact that was the real shortcut, and that was the way it was used, that's the angle you probably want to pursue.
And that's what Marsh had said too.
There is one other possible curveball in that, and I don't know Montana law on it, but a lot of times there is also a limitation period in which you have to assert that claim after the time you've been cut off, or you lose that ability to assert
And
it.
I did ask Brian about that, because the guy from Helen, because I was getting concerned, and he said he didn't think that would be a problem in this case because the road is so old and it's been used for so long. So I don't know.
He needs to review the Park County case, because they did that and tried to establish prescriptive processes. They went to court 3-4 times. They ended up with a $3 million settlement against the county. They didn't act.
Well, just to ease your
Judiciously
mind, Tim, we
continue.
probably won't do this through the county if we do it. We'll do it as individual
Yeah,
citizens,
but
because
just-
I don't think the
I'm
county.
just saying
needs-
that he's not quite the right assessment, is that when the gate goes up, you really need to do something like that.
What you're saying is the county ended up with liability because they failed to act when the gate went up? Is that
Was
what-
it on a county road,
I'm not saying the
Tim?
liability, they lost their ability to establish prescription.
Okay.
And so,
Big time.
and the second case in Park County, then the landowner put up the gate, the road crew took the gate down. In spring, the landowner put up the gate, and pretty soon they started picking up and changing gates and putting back and forth. And the county was sued over that case, and they lost another $1.5 million.
So what
Counties
was
have
the,
not been successful.
what was the
in
basis of the
prescription.
lawsuit? The fact that they'd taken the gate down?
county approved a subdivision
Oh,
with a mile blank of road that they always presumed, since they maintained, were on it, had it, whatever, was a road, and so they approved the subdivision. The subdivision guy says, I'm gonna sue you, county, because
okay.
you approved the subdivision without legitimate access when you gave me the indication of your access.
So there's a lot more to that, I mean, to that situation as far as the lawsuit went, with the subdivision being approved and all that. What I'm saying, I don't, yeah,
Salient description is that prescription is a very icky thing.
yeah, yeah. I don't think if we did go that far, I don't think the county would be involved. I don't know, you know. I think that private citizens can probably do it too, right?
You can, yes.
Yeah.
What would be the basis of, what would be the basis of a private citizen suit?
We're not gonna sue.
For prescription?
Well, yeah, if we do.
It would be just trying to prove their use.
Yeah.
Not being a lawyer, but a private citizen can say, I have established prescriptive use on that road, or maybe a small
And
group.
that's been very narrow in case law, because
Yeah, but
five
that
or
would be
six of the
the,
prescription cases have been thrown out because people said, I really bought this property, I camped over there, I did this over there, but there was no structures, no nothing. All of those have been thrown out of court.
it has to have shown enough of the need that you use that.
Mhm.
You know, if it was the access point for years because of that. It's a real great,
Yeah.
it's a hard one.
And this is just one of the options. Teresa, did you have something to say?
Well, I still am concerned for my mother. If there was a derailment or something out there, how the heck is my mom supposed to get out of there? What if, just like the fire, can't we push for the emergency exit? I mean, this is ridiculous that we can't have an out for my mom if something
Mhm.
happens.
And that is, Lori's talked about that in the past from the very start, and that, you know, that is another option. That's
And
another.
there's a lot of people who live out there.
There are, yeah. And actually, I mean, this didn't really pertain to it because it was snowed in, but a log did fall across that road, a tree, during a bad storm, and it was the day that Dad went to the emergency room. You know, but, I mean, he wouldn't have got around that way because it was winter
Right,
time, but.
right,
But that,
exactly.
you know, so those things can happen.
And just the fire should approve
Yeah,
that road
yeah,
should be open.
Yeah,
You know, and all that money that they put into that,
I agree. And thank you for bringing that up. Let's see. Sorry, I got a little lost here. Okay, the public highway we talked about, and that's just a definition based on 1895 road law, which actually was reaffirmed in 1947 and grandfathered in roads, and I'm not sure if that means this was grandfathered in. It was repealed in 1959 by the Montana legislature. And then the federal designation, RS 2477, came out, which was a federal designation of roads on the public domain as public highways. And that provides for roads to become public property or have public easements to protect them in different ways. The different ways are, you can petition the adjacent landowners for roads to become county roads. They can actually petition, like if Dave wanted to. Court determination, again, prescriptive easement. And then declaration by the county commissioners. You can do it by that, declare it a county road, and there's a petition process, and I actually looked at some of the different counties that had forms for that, and Ryan had brought that up as an option, and we'll have to see how that goes, I guess. Okay, and there's others. Okay, then another thing came out, and Bernard Lee? Yeah, Mr. Lee, suggested that we try to find proof that it had previously been declared a county road. And my Uncle Lee went in and researched the old county records in Missoula because prior to 1916, we were part of Missoula County, and that road was too. He did find a petition in the early 1900s signed by several area residents, and I recognize some of the names, so that was interesting, requesting that the county declare the road a county road. And then he went about a year forward from there and was unable to find anything that actually did so. But we need to do more research. Somebody needs to go in and research those records. And my understanding, if we can prove it's a county road, right? Then we have law that addresses it, state law. And that state law, which I have all the information on, There's a representative named Jacobson out of Bozeman. The last 2 legislative sessions has tried to expand that law to include other roads throughout our state. Tim's right, this is happening all over the state. And there is some success, and there's some people that are in court, and there's some people that win, and some people that don't. And probably the majority don't, so it's a tough one. Again, like Teresa said, requesting that the county include this road as part of their emergency plan, which I think somebody else brought that idea up, as well as Lori. And so I think that needs to be looked at more fully. And then the other thing, Lori, you talked about at the first meeting was the idea of requesting a temporary injunction to get them to open it. I don't know if you followed their hearing.
No, I didn't, I can't even, it's been so far back.
I know it was
that,
2013.
Who even brought that up?
So that was another idea to look into by the committee, is to get a temporary injunction forcing them to open that
Seems like
road.
Ernie had mentioned something about that.
The sheriff. And I had asked Dale about that as Justice of the Peace. Well, who would I go to talk, what judge would I go to, what court would we go to? But it's another thing to look into. Okay, and then maybe it's worth our time to see if we have any local attorneys that might be willing to help us out on a pro bono basis. I don't know, we've got a couple of, well, Lance had actually told me about prescriptive use, and he's the one that said that's what it should be. He said it would cost a lot of money, and I said, like, how much? And he said about $25,000. So, and that's just to be in court, I'm sure, but anyway, any questions? Right now, if there's any public comment, anybody that has anything to say?
Well, I know the RS 2477 was brought up probably 10 or 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
that's the other, yeah.
In the county, on a lot of the county, or a lot of the roads that were around. And I think the commissioners at that time didn't want to open that can of worms. And I think that discussion, it wasn't just that road, it was.
It was up in the West End, wasn't
Well,
it?
it was
Roads
a
up
lot
there?
of roads around the county.
Yeah.
And
Because
it was just
Lincoln's
kind
were involved.
of left to lie. But I know that was, at that time, talked about an option for opening different roads.
So you don't know what happened with any of those roads?
The
Or were they able
commissioners, I think, just let it lie because it was too big a can of worms.
Well, I did talk to Judy, because I think she was the commissioner at the time, and she didn't tell me what happened, but,
Yeah, no, they never pursued any of them. Just,
oh, okay.
Yeah, because of that. I'm just reading that into it. They thought that would open too big an issue. But whether you get specific, commissioners are willing to get specific about it, it may still open up some other can of worms at other places in the county. But
Yeah, and
like I
that's.
say, I know it was talked about in the past. That option has been presented on other roads.
Mhm.
And I think from a county standpoint, Diane, no, I didn't like to see roads closed. There's been
I know
some
you don't.
roads in
No,
the St.
none of
Regis
us do.
area that I desperately tried to get opened back up. Ollie St. Clair in this last paragraph on the last page of your article from the Chronicle there pretty well puts it. He says, Ollie St. Clair encourages the commissioners to identify all potential costs before making the decision, and that's where we're at.
Mhm. Oh, I know.
I mean, the county doesn't have the money to, because it's not gonna end at this road. If we got that road open, there's half a dozen of them in the St. Regis area.
Mhm.
Are we gonna look at those? And if somebody walks through the, let them know when we just told someone else yes,
I
It's-
understand that.
And I think the involved, the emergency exit, I think that's a great idea. I think there should be emergency access, and there was emergency access through this last summer.
Mhm.
But, the money involved from the county standpoint, we don't have it.
I know. I've been to the budget meetings, so, yeah. Fine. Yes, and thank you for that input. And I know you guys feel that way. But, I think there's a couple of things that are in our favor right now. Like I said, the state has this, the NRC has this office. The Forest Service has an office, and, they've got people designated to work on these issues. So we're gonna have some help as far as trying to identify the best way to go and to do research, and that's why we wanna set up the committee today. Okay?
Push the Forest Service more. If they put a road number on it,
Mhm.
through CCDC, they rebuild it. To me, it's their road.
Yeah, it's RS 344, isn't it? Yep.
I thought that about owning Cold Creek too, Tom.
Yeah, but,
They put a trailhead in there to try
Still on
to
this-
name the trail after a deceased Forest Service employee. And then what did they do?
Yeah.
It said, we don't have an easement.
still a trail, still a trail in the trail system.
Yeah, but there's a gate across the road, you can't get to it.
Well, at one point when Marcia was still here, she said what they were trying to do was work on easements for all that whole road and to get it all done with one swoop. But that's no longer happening. And Ellen, I know, does not have time.
Yeah.
I can,
But the Forest Service
Roger
have a
that.
legal division. Push them.
yep, I think that you're right, Tom. Okay, so any other comments or questions? You Moats people?
Well, we've got preliminary quotes on what some people might charge individual, lawyers to represent us to try to do this. I think we ought to go to them maybe and say, well, as a service to this county and to the people who live here and that you work with, can you do this for a little bit less money than you charge normally for everything? At least we can try that anyway and see if we can get somebody to work on it and say, we'll help you while you're working on it, while you're doing the job, and maybe we can get somebody to do this for a little less money, because I'm willing to put some money up to do this.
Thank you. My Uncle Dan is also willing, and he doesn't even live here anymore. And Jackie Robb said she would, so, there's people that are willing to contribute money if we can just get an effort going, if we need to do that. And did you say you got some preliminary quotes? Or you said we
I
should?
know, I'm just saying, I
Okay.
hear you quoting some numbers here
Yeah.
of maybe to do this, and maybe as a sort of a contribution to the county and to the people here, they might do it for a little bit less.
And I think that's we've got a retired attorney here, maybe we can get him interested. So,
Diane?
yeah.
One comment I'd like to make, I think it's a great idea to have that road open, and years ago, when I started in the engineering department here at Ranger District, what people were talking about was, there was some consideration of that being kind of emergency access, so the county did maintain it a few times. This was years ago, 35 years ago, they would do some remedial maintenance on it, same with Forest Service at times. Not much besides just a quick play job or whatever. But to me, a big consideration for this, whoever pursues it, you need to talk about who's going to take jurisdiction of it once that's gained. Nobody wants any more road. And I don't think the county wants any more road, like Wayne was talking about, or the Forest Service. And that's a big consideration too, to consider, I would believe, prior, or as it's happening.
Well,
Those people, that should be involved.
Yes, I agree. And we did talk about that, Lori and I talked about it the other night. As far as if people are interested, what they do up Trout Creek is they used to hire lawn dogs to blade the road in the summertime, or in the wintertime for the snowmobilers, and they would just pay him. And we've got Kelly Johnston that would be willing to do that. So as far as maintenance on just blading it a couple of times a year, that's an option. The bridge is fixed, we know that.
The bridge is condemned.
They brought heavy equipment over it. How do they condemn it afterwards?
Well, that's why they put the load limit signs on it just recently. But Nate was not aware that that bridge was using Forest Services. until he did some research on it, and that was about the same time as the fire happened. When he.
So they condemned it after the fire? Because they brought heavy equipment across that and took it
Oh,
up.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah, and took the, up our road
I'm
too.
sure they did. The fire wouldn't do anything with it until we rejected, or
Right.
till the fire.
Right, so there was like a
rejected.
3-day lag time there, yes.
Nate wasn't even aware that that bridge was the Forest Services. And through some of this discussion and his research, he
Mhm.
found that out.
Mhm.
That's why he went ahead and rejected.
Mhm. And plus they wanted to get over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't take the equipment over there until
No.
they did that.
But
So what's the
Forest
low
Service
then?
contacted the county and asked us to emergency repair the bridge. I pointed out to the Forest Service that the bridge belongs to the Forest Service.
That was clarified.
It's yours.
Right.
No
Yeah.
thank you.
And at that time, Nate was doing research himself and found out, confirmed that, what Tim's saying. So they rejected.
Mhm.
But the bridge has got all sorts of structural issues to it.
So what's the weight limit on it?
I don't know what signs they put up on it, but that's why they
I was gonna
did
stop taking
recently
pictures, I
post
should've.
it. That's why they recently
Yeah.
posted it, because there is weight concerns with it.
Well, and there are with the bridge out at Lozo over the river too. I mean, there's weight
Sure.
concerns on lots of bridges.
But that
Yeah.
information's coming from a structural engineer, not from me. not
No,
from
I
you.
know,
You know?
but it's still okay for cars,
Yeah,
trucks,
yeah,
four-wheelers.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So we agree, if we get this thing open, it's not for big trucks and stuff to go over, right?
Yeah.
We would agree there would be a sign there or something that says there's a
Sure.
weight limit on this bridge.
And we would also
Right.
agree that we understand it's, not necessarily, there's a sign right now that says it's not maintained. And there's a sign up Thompson Creek that says that. There's, people go up there at their own risk, and that's not really, doesn't keep people out
Yeah.
necessarily.
Right.
Yes?
The court's end, when you come in off Courts Loop Road there,
Mm-hmm.
okay? There was this is not maintained from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
That was changed to dead end.
The county.
Well, that's why he didn't see the signs, he was looking at the GPS screen.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when you pull off the asphalt, it's right like 5 foot from the asphalt. And then I put 2 more up, and they still come down.
I know. They go up
So,
Trap Creek past our house
When
to
you're
those huge
talking about no
trucks.
through traffic, truck traffic, that's gonna be a challenge.
I know.
Because these idiots can't read signs.
Well, I know that.
I mean, I even asked this one little Mexican guy, and nothing about Mexicans, okay, let's don't get critical here and, but he gets out and he says, well, my GPS says I'm gonna get up there, and I said, Bubba, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
And I mean, he stood there and argued with me sitting in my front yard with a 54-foot box semi.
Yeah.
Went through
well, I believe-
everything.
Yeah.
He said, then after we get him turned around and get him out there on the road, he says, well, you need to put a sign right there that says no truck traffic. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, well, I said, hell, you passed a dead end sign right in your face. What makes you think you're gonna read that?
Well, we have the same problem. I live up Trap Creek above that bridge. Do you know Trap Creek area? Do you know where that is?
Yeah?
Their dad put a sign up down below that says no access to 93, or no access to the
There's one
highway.
on the other side of the town.
There's
pond.
one up here on the town
David and
pond.
Jody get it all the time.
So so these big, huge box trucks will go up, and I wave them down if I'm down there. And this one guy from Arkansas or somewhere, he got this panicked look on his face, and I said, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way. And, I mean, he was panicking, so it happens up our road too. And people just
What are
won't
these
pay
people
attention.
hauling?
It's GPS stuff.
What are they hauling?
I don't know.
I just wonder what
Big
big
semis.
trucks are even doing up there.
I
why
think
would
there's
they
a
do
weight,
that?
Well,
there's a,
GPS says, according to,
It's a
now,
mapping system.
I've seriously had like 15 semis in the last 2 years in my yard. And I
yeah,
know shoulders pulled them off the top of that mountain, right where the red line is right there, right where the road's closed off, because they couldn't even turn around up there.
yeah.
Do you know what they were hauling? I'm just interested in what these semis are doing out there.
They're not, they don't intend to be out
Taking
there.
a shortcut?
Yeah.
They're
No.
lost?
That's what it
No,
says.
what
Lost,
happens,
okay.
I'll tell you exactly what happens. If you get off the interstate, say you go to Town Pump for fuel or something like that, and you're on a road that is parallel and not very far from the interstate, the GPS may not quite be sure you're not on the interstate, and it gives you directions as though you're still on the highway. And it sends you right out Trout Creek
And-
Road, or.
and that's not
It
the
happens on
only
West
thing.
Mullen too.
But that's
According
not,
to GPS, 3 or 4 of the truckers have told me flat out that GPS says that is a shortcut
To the
to
town.
town pump. And that's why they go off there.
yes, and the FedEx man told me that his GPS routed him around that way. So he headed up that way, and this was before your signs were up. And, because I ran into him right about the time we were having our last meeting here at the courthouse. And also, I ordered something from Lowe's, and I always give people directions, and he said that his GPS routed him over that way, off of the freeway.
Yeah, it says it's the
Yeah.
shortest distance from the
Yeah,
town pump to
yeah.
Pierce, Idaho. And they woke David
Yeah.
up 4 o'clock in the morning and
And I had already told him, luckily, so he didn't start up there with the Lowe's truck, which is not a semi, but it's still a pretty good sized truck.
neither some.
Well, I know there's no way of cutting off GPS unless you've got somebody that has, you know, is way up there with the technology.
Yeah.
As long as that is showing a shortcut,
Well, that's
you're not,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
open it up, you're gonna have people,
You know, that happens all over. I mean, there's a road up in the west end of the county that GPS routed a woman over a few years
Yeah,
back,
and
and her
her son
son.
she died.
And they died, yeah. And that was a closed road, but the GPS sent her up that way. So-
When I was still in my job, we had this issue on numerous roads, and it was a safety issue from what happened in 12 Mile. I don't know how many wrecked semis I've gone up to see rescued at 12 Mile, probably a dozen.
Mhm.
Another road was Bat Summit, same thing. And it's a shortcut that's on the mapping system.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, all the different mapping companies have access to this digital data.
Mhm.
And that's what they're
Going on.
going off of.
And that's why the semis head up towards
That's
Voodoo.
right, because
Yeah,
their their dispatcher gives them a map and say, follow this. And they might even give them that map en route. You know,
Yeah.
they say, well, here's a shortcut. And nobody tells them it's snowed in up there.
right.
Or, for instance, like Trout Creek, or it's not, doesn't have proper alignment for big trucks, so they go up there and they get stuck and wrecked or whatever.
Fortunately, there's that turnaround
And-
above my uncle's
the
house, and most of those
Forest
guys
Service
turn
tried to
around
pursue this
there.
to the regional office
The problem.
for safety purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got to the regional office, they kind of ran into a dead-end street, because that's when they found out how big a problem it was with all the different mapping companies that are out there that have these programs that deal with this stuff. And they just acquire all this data from wherever they can get it. You know?
So the Forest Service didn't know how to deal with it either, right?
No, they ran into
Yeah.
a total dead-end street.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
there's your,
Besides marking each individual road, and they didn't want to get into that, because once you mark one road, you gotta mark them all. Otherwise, you've got more liability issues.
well, even when they're marked, people don't notice.
After
That's
Joe,
right.
Yeah.
after Joe marked the 12-mile road, after those fatalities, a towing company from west of St. Regis tore down the signs and threw them in the river.
Oh my gosh.
We found,
Yeah.
it was cutting in on their business. It said, not suitable for truck traffic, not maintained.
Yeah, the signs were just lifted right out of the post holes.
Because
And I
it
found
was
it in St.
cutting into
Regis.
their business?
In their wrecking.
Wow.
Into their recovery, yeah.
Yeah. That sign lasted about 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
So are you saying, sir, that you don't want this road open because of the hassle it gives you?
No, I'm just saying, I mean, I'm in support of the people that want the road open. I live down at the very bottom,
Okay, yeah, I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
And as far as it, well, when the statement was made that we could not have truck traffic, blah, 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 good luck.
Yeah. I understand
Because
what
I've
you're
got I've got two dead end signs, no traffic, and no through traffic. I mean, like, right at the asphalt.
You
I
can't
mean,
look
I'm
stupid.
sure if you drive up and down through there, when you're going out towards the dump, when you come off Lozo, when you come around the corner right there, where this road takes off, look at the signs I got out there.
Yeah.
And I still got semis.
But that's
so-
no reason not to have this road reopened.
Well, no,
Right?
that's,
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Ignorance is not a
What I'm
reason.
saying is, if you open it, somebody made the statement, well, we could put signs up saying no semi-traffic. And what I'm saying is,
They're not effective.
don't count on that, because that ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Open the road, but as far as saying semis ain't welcome, forget it, unless you can change the GPS.
I think, yeah, and we were talking more about the bridge, but there is a load limit, you know, and I guess it's up to the people that go
Well,
across that
that's if
bridge,
you're
right,
coming in
Joe?
from the other side.
Yeah, right.
But see, they're getting off
No, I
at
know.
Lozo.
I know,
to
yeah.
shortcut
Right.
Trout Creek.
to,
Hmm?
Town Pump.
Just
Right,
trying
no,
shortcutting
yeah.
to Trout Creek perhaps even, you know, to go south into Idaho. That's what some of those trucks are
Yeah,
trying to do.
yeah.
They're trying to go shortcut into Pierce and down
Mhm.
Highway 12,
It's the quickest way. Well, it's not the quickest way, but the shortest way.
not the quickest way. in
Takes
life.
twice as long. We did it once last summer.
It should be off.
Same way with the Little Joe.
You know.
Yeah.
So jumping ahead, if we were to take this to court and the court ruled in our favor, then our county sheriff has to go out there and tell this guy to take those barriers down, right? Who's gonna do it?
You never had that happen before.
Well, I'm just wondering.
That's a good question, Steve. And that's something the committee can look into too.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys are gonna be on the committee.
Oh, absolutely. I'll
Guy?
Well, I also wonder why, you know, GPS systems, I've worked with computers and stuff all my life. There's the ability to put something in a GPS system that's gonna tell you this road is closed or only accessible by certain kinds of traffic, but they're not doing that, huh? They
I guess
don't
not,
put that in
no.
any of the
Yeah,
stuff, huh?
yeah.
It's too bad because they could. They could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we have 10 minutes to, yeah, officially. Anybody else have anything to say? Commissioners? Well, I just want to say, Lori has been really supportive in this, and she's done a lot of research, and we've tried to get together to do more research, but what kind of thinking about, and I talked to Lori too, and a few other people here, about going ahead and setting up a committee, like I mentioned earlier, and getting going on it, and we'll set a date for that first meeting of the committee. Ryan will be here to meet with us, and he knows of some attorneys in Missoula. I can't remember her name. Who told me the name? Oh, somebody told me the name. I've got it written down, but there's some attorneys in Missoula also that work in this area that we might be able to approach to get direction with. So who would like to be on the committee?
I'll be on it.
Good.
I'll be for the petitions, I'll get all the signatures.
Okay, okay.
And Diana,
Teresa's incredible at
I
that.
hope you let me know when the meetings are going to be.
Do you want to be on the committee too, did you say?
I'd like to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to be, at least sit in, but, yeah.
So Lori, Denley, Stephen Guy, and John. Tom? Anybody else? And, oh, Teresa said that she would
Yeah,
help. She'll help with.
I don't have time for all the research, but I'll do
Yeah,
whatever I
yeah.
can for.
Well, you know, and everybody can, I mean, people on the committee don't have to necessarily do, there's gonna be
Yeah.
more than one thing to
Diane?
do.
You can put it down.
So, good. Anybody else?
I'll help too.
Okay. And I will too. And then, like I said, Ryan will be over. Anybody else? I've got Lori, Denley, Steve and Guy, John, Tom, Joe, and Teresa, and Becky. Oh, Becky and me. I forgot me too. I'm over here. We're over here. Yeah, Becky and me. Anybody else want to be on the committee? Okay, so the dates that I have that Ryan is available to come, if everybody wants, we'd like to set a meeting. They're during the day, during the week.
Now, this is a guy that didn't make it here today.
Yes.
You're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Is everybody pretty much available during the day?
If we have a trail derailment, which
So.
adjacent to Diamond Road.
March
I don't know, I'd have
16th?
to check my social list, you know.
Yeah, me too. March 16th would be the first one. That's a Friday.
It'd have to be, depending on where we have commissioners.
Okay. Is the 20th, what day of the week is that?
I'll be gone on the 20th.
Okay, the 26th or 27th?
26th is for me, and the 27th.
We get
Okay.
semis that are lost too, going to Tropic. Okay, we've had semis
So,
on the bridge.
the days that look like might work, well, that'll work for Lori for sure and Ryan, are March 26th or March 27th.
Monday and Tuesday,
We could get it out of there.
26th.
Okay,
If we'd had a
26, we have our film in the evening.
okay. But you're okay to come during the day? Yeah.
As long as it works around that, that's fine.
They would have no way out.
So Denley, you don't know for sure, but you think it, okay. Okay, and Tom, is that okay, 26th? Steve and Guy, is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Check your calendar, no any conflicts. Joe, are you gonna be around on the 26th?
Well, what time are you planning on having it? I might have some other engagements around this time, I'm not sure.
Well, we'd have to probably not start earlier than 10 or 10:30 because Joe has to come, Ryan has to come over from Helena. So what time are your commitments?
Well, during the day, it doesn't matter what time, it's just, I might have another commitment. I'm not sure
Okay.
when I have a doctor's appointment.
Oh, okay, can we go ahead and
It's right
set it up?
around there. Go ahead and set it up.
St. Regis across.
I'm not sure if I have a doctor's appointment then. Oh, no, mine's in February. Okay, so March 26th, which is a Monday, right? Okay. What time? 11 o'clock?
Sure.
Okay, that'll be good for Ryan. Okay, if you want, I gave you the sheets to fill out. If you can fill that out, if you put your email address on it, I can get a hold of everybody and remind them about the meeting and verify it. And I have some of yours, obviously, but.
Bring me a sign and put it in.
Yep. Well, it won't be a public meeting. It'll just be a committee meeting
Okay,
at that point.
okay.
So unless there's somebody, I know Jim DeBree said he'd like to be involved too. You know, if you run into somebody, Teresa, that really wants to be involved, have them call me.
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay.
Hey, Joe, when you did the research you mentioned earlier, when you worked for the Forest Service, when you discovered there was a lack of easements on Forest Service 344 road, was there any discussion about correcting that and getting the easements at that time, or did?
Well, the more we looked at it, the more problems we saw all the way through, which isn't really encouraging. But some of this is caused by, a lot of it is just right-of-ways that weren't completely gone through and filed. So there's bits and pieces of information that are really historical information that go way back, but you don't know what's really ended up in the courthouse. And one thing that kind of added to that added to this whole issue, is when the large public, or large timber holdings, Plum Creek, all those companies started to split up and sell their properties. It created this right-of-way issue. The Forest Service and those big timber companies, they used to just share. They didn't have really right-of-ways, but they shared agreements across each other's property. And that's where some of this probably started to happen.
And those agreements weren't,
They're not.
they weren't permanent, or nor were they transferable or
I don't
reassignable?
think so. They're not like a legal right of way.
Kind of handshake,
Yeah.
Back in the day when people got along.
yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what started kind of, this division of the private property in that area. What started to cause
So
it.
then, why did they go so far as to plot it on a map, name it, and give it a road designation number under the Forest Service and Hospice? And if it
Well, I
wasn't really,
think that probably happened, centuries ago.
but, so then, they called it their road and they maintained it, and they didn't think that they had to actually acquire permanent easement from these companies that, while they had a road and labeled with their name on it going through the ground?
Sure.
And you think in the 30s that happened?
That probably happened even before that.
No, after that, in the 30s when the Three
If I-
Cs did it.
If I remember Tanya Brummett's conversation, they thought they had the easement. That's why they didn't ever, there's lots of that that went on.
There are actually actual Forest Service easements I found through parts of that they didn't continue it.
Yeah, that's what I found in some of the stuff. I didn't check what was filed at the clerk and recorders here. I was checking the Forest Service information, and a lot of that, I could see the kind of footprints of them acquiring this stuff, but maybe it wasn't totally followed through on and recorded at the courthouse.
Well, and that's why I was asking about the 1930s when the Three Cs upgraded that road. And they rerouted it some, I think, too, at that time, I'm not sure. But, well, I remember, actually. It's like the bridge was further down. Weren't there any, did they just do it on a handshake then still, with the Three Cs doing it?
Well, the part there at the mill, that's a legal right of way.
Yeah, I know.
All the way up to the top of the
But
hill.
that's a new part, and that's since the Three Cs road went in.
Yeah,
Because
I
it
don't
didn't
know.
used to go all the way up that
I don't know
far
what happened
in the
prior.
30s.
But all that was, that was built, way back as an original trail from Fish Creek all the way to Trout Creek.
Right.
And I think a lot of it was just kind of done on handshake.
I'm sure it was at that time,
Through
but
the big timber companies.
But what I'm trying to establish is that during the 1930s, when the Three Cs upgraded the road, was it still just done that way, do you think?
Oh, yeah, it was probably done that way until 20 years ago when some of the big timber companies started to kind of split up.
And sell their land off. But that was private land before. That's been private land for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah,
That little corner there,
It was, well, which are you talking about?
where, I think where Cougar Creek comes, I don't know if it came down that
Well,
far, but that Cougar Creek branch was up there, and that was owned by the Warnkins, right, Tommy? Yeah. So, it's been private land for a long time. And Toots Fry told me her family owned that at one time, too.
Oh, really?
So, but I don't know if it comes all the way down to the road or not.
And then Champion owned it,
Yeah, and Stimson is who they bought it from, I
Yeah.
think. So,
and Plum Creek.
Now, probably nobody was not worried about this road as long as you could drive through it. As soon as
That's right.
somebody puts a gate across the thing, now you've got a whole new ballgame.
Yeah. And for me, part of it's the principle of the thing, most of us abide by the law, obviously. Lori could probably walk off her road if she really wanted to.
Yeah, I don't think there's any access actually.
And if you wanna see a can of worms, wait till I cut off the swimming hole through Moat's property.
No, just start charging, and we're not gonna have a swimming pool this year, so you're gonna have more traffic. Yes?
The road we're talking about is, I'm not from here, I didn't, so I'm learning all this stuff. Okay, is this basically a Forest Service road
It is.
from one end to the other? From
Um,
my end,
to Trout Creek.
from all the way across?
Yeah.
That's what the question is, nobody completely knows.
Well, if it's Forest Service Road, deemed as Forest Service Road, why can't you go to the Forest Service and have them file to open that road and keep it open? Using the Sunrise Fire and Emergency
And,
as the reason they want it open. Let them do some of the work.
well, and that's exactly what we're pursuing. That's part of the committee, I'll be doing that. And I'm glad you brought that up. Carol Johnson, who's the district ranger, had attended our last meeting, and she was going to look into it. And at that time, anything going through the federal government creeps, right, Joe? It just took forever, but now that they've got this new division, are you aware of this, Joe? And I've got the guy's name in there. And Ryan will coordinate with them before our next meeting, but, you know, hopefully, because this is all over the country, especially the Northwest or the West, but hopefully the Forest Service is going to start figuring out how to streamline some of these situations,
Well,
so it
would
doesn't
seem
take
like,
20
you know,
years.
You're trying to figure out how to get power, how to get a voice, how to get, you're not gonna beat them. They're already at the top. Use them. If you can go to them instead of going to all these courts and this and that, why couldn't you go to them and let them use their power to say, we need this road designated open because of Sunrise Fire, because of, and let them fight for you.
Yep, and that's definitely a good suggestion.
I mean, they're already
Yep,
at the top, and
yep.
they already got the attorneys, and they already got the money, and they already got the pull.
And that's one direction the committee definitely will be going.
Yeah.
You know, if we can get out of spending money, and if we can do it fast.
Well, I'd say the Forest Service got more money than we do, so.
Well, probably.
Well, especially with the
And-
fire, they have more
and-
reason.
And whose money is it anyway?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing, you know, that came up was the emergency access. If that is put into an emergency access plan, what happens then? Can that be done?
I don't know if we can do that if it's not our, if we don't have an easement on the road to do it.
Because it's a county
I
plan.
mean, I
Okay,
don't know.
well, that's something we can
That'd
look
be an
into.
Ellen question, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? We've got the committee, we've got the date set, and if people can turn in those sheets if they're done with them or get them to me later. If not, I know I have your phone number, Tom, because it's not listed, right? I mean, it's a cell phone. I know I have yours and Denley's. I think I have everybody. I can contact everybody by phone. Any other questions, comments? And again, I'm sorry Ryan couldn't be here. I was really looking forward to that, and I didn't want to cancel because I figured a lot of people would be here, and I've come to canceled meetings before. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
You could've canceled.